How far would you go for love? In the opening scene of Wheel of Love, Max, a habitual liar and stark womanizer, gets out of the plane, and he is doing everything to make his journey to his destination smooth. Some examples include him assisting a woman in a wheelchair just to be able to avoid being checked, sitting on the airport baggage truck to move him from one destination to another, and pretending to be Mr. Jackson from Africa just to get a free ride. Later that day, he holds his breath underwater, asking his friend and doctor about the time he lasted. He realizes that he is getting better. He is preparing for a marathon that will happen in a few days. He talks about women and decides to go on an adventure. He intends to call a lady on Friday, sleep with her on Saturday, and dump her on Sunday. Just then, he receives heartbreaking news. His mother has passed. But from his expression, one can see that he does not look sad. He shares the news casually with his friend. Max gets to the burial ceremony of his mother late, and even joins a wrong burial at first before realizing he is with the wrong group. His dress also does not look like someone who is mourning his mother. He picks a flower right from the cemetery and takes it to stand with his brother while listening to the priest. From the priest's speech, one can deduce that Max's mom did not live a pleasant life. While he is still talking, Max leaves the cemetery and goes to his mom's place. He starts checking through the house. At one point, he sees some of the pictures of his mom while playing music on the stereo. All through this period, his eyes have not shown any form of emotion. While checking some of the picture folders, he decides to sit down in his mom's wheelchair. Just then, Anna, a new neighbor, knocks, but he does not hear. She then stops the music to catch his attention. She just moved in and wants to move a desk, but when she sees Max in the wheelchair, she assumes he cannot walk and decides not to make the request. She pities him and reveals that she takes care of people like him, urging him to ask her if he needs anything. Seeing that she will be ready to come in the evening makes him even more determined to pretend to be crippled. While introducing himself, he trips over a bowl filled with wool, and she helps him. This caring act of hers gets him more enticed, and he tells her to drop by anytime she wants. Max jumps up in excitement after she leaves, and kisses the wheelchair for bringing her to him. While with Pecker, he reveals the situation with Anna, which he calls the ultimate test. He believes if he can win Anna over from the wheelchair, he will be able to win anyone over. Pecker wonders how he will be able to get laid if he wins her over, since he is pretending to not have legs. Well, a valid question. While at his workplace, Max stands tall, giving a motivational speech to his staff. He wants them to move above being neck to neck with their competitors. He encourages them that first place is theirs, and he wants them there. Just then, his assistant enters, and he refuses to hear why she is late. After the day, Max uses the wheelchair and goes to Anna's apartment. He is not able to press the bell, but he quickly uses his feet to press it and goes back to his seat before she opens the door. She seems busy, so he invites her for a coffee break. He has no idea that making the coffee will require him to stand up, but while he is doing this, Anna does not see him. He almost takes the coffee to her on his feet before he remembers he is supposed to be crippled. Anna notices that he seems to be dieting, and he forgets and reveals it is for the marathon, before covering up with a lie that he will be there as a spectator. Anna reveals she is a psychotherapist. She notices him staring at her breasts and hints that she sees him, so she asks if he is married. He tells her he is free and looking for someone helpful. He tries to move close to her, but she stands up because she needs something casual, no strings attached, and no lost hope. Seeing that his current approach has failed, he tries to invite her for dinner, but she declines for some other activities and does not give him room to tag along. While she is about to leave, he then tells her he lied and tries to stand up from the wheelchair. But the look on her face makes him change his mind and tell her about his job instead. This makes her invite him to her family's place on Sunday. Max drives down to the location given to him by Anna, but parks somewhere when he is about to get there to fix his wheelchair. After fixing it, he sits on it and starts rolling down to the address. A lady sees him on the road and asks if he will race her before driving away, which feels weird to him. While going, he is forced to stand up and run for his life when a trailer is about to hit him. He then returns to the wheelchair until he gets to the location. He meets the family, and he is well received, only for him to see that the lady he saw earlier is Anna's sister Julia, and she is crippled. He then feels that Anna is trying to set him up with her sister, which is not his plan. After lunch, Julia tries to get to know him more, and also tells him about herself. She learns about his business, and he learns that she plays tennis and violin. She tries to bond with him through music, but the effort is not flowing well, so she stops. She tries a joke, but he is not interested. In the next scene, Max complains about what happened on his date to Pecker. He went for Anna, but she ended up trying to set him up with Julia. He even lied about his age because he believed his real age might scare Anna away, but she is not interested in him. Anna goes to Max's place to drop off his gloves, which he forgot in their house, but instead she sees his brother. She is surprised to see who she thought was Max standing, but when she sees he is not the one, she feels relieved. Max's brother, knowing the kind of brother he has, tries to follow suit with whatever story Anna is bringing about his brother and avoids talking first. He then realizes his brother is pretending to be crippled. Afterward, he calls Max to reveal that he knows his secret, but Max tells him to stay true to the story and not say anything. Max is at work when his assistant Maria informs him that a disabled woman is here to see him. As soon as he sees Julia in the mirror, he jumps to the table and sits. He quickly tells Maria to leave. Julia has come to reveal that the matchmaking was her sister's idea, and not hers, but they don't need to be friends. She notices him on the table and feels that he is ashamed. She goes close to him to encourage him. Maria comes by, asking him to come, but he continues to pretend. Seeing he will not budge, she then goes back to the office and continues to use the intercom to say all she wants to say. But Max quickly stops the intercom because of Julia. Julia is playing tennis nearby and invites him to come, even though it is his competitor who is sponsoring them. She then tells him 2 more things, one of which is, using black men in advertisements is cliché, and secondly that his chest is sexy. Max rushes to dress up while trying to talk to Maria through the intercom, but she pretends that the connection is bad. He is forced to go to her office. Julia is playing tennis when Max drives down there to see what is happening. He stands somewhere he cannot be seen and watches while she is playing. He starts seeing her in a new light and starts falling for her. Julia loses the game, but it does not take away her smile and joy. After the game, Max is heading back, but when he hears Julia nearby, he quickly sits in a wheelchair close by. She sees him and points out that he is in her wheelchair. He lies that his wheelchair is broken, and his assistant is helping him with it. She allows him to use hers. Just then, Julia and a couple of her physically challenged friends are going out, so she invites Max to tag along. While having a conversation with the guys, Max needs to play a table tennis game with someone to prove a point, but he declines and leaves. Julia meets up with him on the road and tells him not to be afraid of losing. She advises that he should learn to lose, because losing makes a man likable. Maria is given the task of returning Julia's wheelchair, and she delivers it. She is forced to say things to make Max's story real, because she does not want to be the reason her boss's truth will be revealed, even though she is not happy with it. Julia, on the other hand, creates a bond with her, to the extent of asking her to help with the outfit for her musical concert. This makes Maria hate what Max is doing more, but she cannot talk, because it is not in her place. Back at work, Max asks Maria for the update, and she reveals she has done what he wanted. She is not happy, but just cannot fight her boss. Instead, she creates a mandatory schedule for him to attend Julia's musical concert, even though he does not want to agree with the decision. Max decides to do what Maria has advised, but he is afraid. He tries to walk in, but ends up entering with a wheelchair. The concert starts, and he sees Julia playing the lead violin. His attention is on her all the way through, and he enjoys every bit of the concert. After the concert, he stays behind to wait for her. Julia is expecting him to invite her for a drink, but he chickens out until she spells it out for him. They end up having a drink, and she tries to create a conversation. Max is a bit distraught by the song the musician is singing, because he knows it. Julia notices it, and while they are talking, she asks that they bring the mic to Max so he can join the song. Max sings off-key, which amuses Julia. They continue to enjoy the night as they talk about themselves. Getting to Julia's house, she invites him over for a drink and he follows her. But just before entering her apartment, he decides to leave. She respects his decision and says goodbye. After waiting for a while, Max leaves the wheelchair while inside the rain, while Julia is looking out the window. At the office the next day, Max tries to avoid Maria because he knows she will ask if he has apologized, but he runs out of luck when they eventually meet. Maria probes him, and he tells the truth, but also adds that he did not enter her room when she invited him inside, which is a plus for him. Maria realizes he is falling in love with Julia, and this makes her happy. But she explains that Julia will look like shit after he declines her offer, which makes him realize what he has done. Somewhere else, Julia has also explains the situation to Anna. She thinks he refuses her advances because he is old-fashioned, or his gear is not working. Julia defends Max all through it, confirming that she likes him and wants romance. In the next scene, while Max is playing golf with Pecker, he asks how sexy a crippled man is. His friend explains that their joystick works, but they do not feel it. He is asking to know if he will be forced to tell her the truth eventually. He would rather tell the truth than have a para-orgasm. Later that night, after taking his bath, he calls Julia. She is also in the bathtub when his call comes in. He asks her out for dinner properly, and she agrees to go on a date with him. She replies casually, even though she is screaming clearly in her mind. Max is nervous, and he is pacing around the room while speaking with her. She seems to notice that, and mentions that it feels as if he is walking. This makes him sit down in a rush, tell her he will send the address, and drop the call. Out of excitement, Julia plunges herself into the bathtub. On the day of the date, Max nervously opens the door for Julia. He invites her into his home, and she hands over the wine she brings along. She gets a tour of the house while he gets a bucket of ice for the wine. She sees a grand piano and starts playing it. While she is playing, Max tries to reveal the truth about his legs, but he is not confident enough. As he stands up, she turns, and he returns to the wheelchair before she can see him. Their date continues, and they head to the place where they will eat. They start talking about his business at first, before things start looking tense between them. Max sees he has the room and wants to confess about his legs, but Julia takes words from him and talks about why she broke up with her ex, because he lied, and she does not forgive any form of lying. This discourages Max because he is already in love with her, and he does not want to lose her. Instead, he fabricates a story about how he lost his legs when they start discussing how they became crippled. After Julia shares her emotional story, things start becoming more intense. Max presses a button, and where they are sitting starts sinking into the pool. When they are in the water, he swims to move close to her, and they start kissing passionately. The next scene shows they just got intimate, and Max confirms if Julia feels anything. She says she felt the sex in her head, and he follows suit with the same answer. After a wonderful night, he wants her to stay, but she goes back home. She talks about meeting his friends, so he takes Maria and Pecker along to dinner. Even when they are not totally in support of his action, they follow him regardless. Just as they are about to start the dinner, Max's brother Lucien enters and makes sure he is sitting beside Anna, even though it is inconvenient. They start talking, and Maria tells a fabricated story about her crippled uncle. Just then, Lucien mentions a different way Max got crippled. This surprises Julia, and they start looking for a way to defend it. Seeing things are not going smoothly, Lucien goes to the bathroom, and soon after, Max and Pecker follows him. The boy advises him to tell the truth, but he thinks that she is not ready for it. They start arguing, to the extent that Lucien leaves the bathroom with the wheelchair, but ends up coming back to the bathroom, because he knows telling the truth might also make him lose Anna. When they come back to the table, Julia tells Max that she knows the truth. He panics, thinking it's about his legs, and starts apologizing soberly, only to realize it is about his birthday. After the date, Maria and Pecker start analyzing his situation. They believe Julia will break up with him when she finds out the truth, which makes him quiet and sad. He thinks about what to do, because he is in love with her and is confused. Pecker even joked about his mantra of meeting on Friday, shagging on Saturday, and dumping on Sunday, but Max does not have time for his jokes. After pressing for suggestions from his friend, Pecker tells him he is in love with her because she is true, not pretentious, and she is different. Just then he receives a call from Lucien, and he drives to see him in his workshop. On getting there, he gets out of his car and looks for his brother. Anna shows up with a slap around the face and tells him to stay away from her sister, and she must never know that he deceived her. She warns him that he has 48 hours to disappear without walking away. Just then his brother shows up, and Max is disappointed. Lucien keeps telling himself that he is only being honest in his relationship, but Max is not ready to listen to him and leaves. In the next scene, Max is looking confused. Maria notices and asks him what he is going to do next. She is ready to help him, but she believes that it's only a miracle that will save him, which gives him an idea. Meanwhile, Anna in another scene says different negative things about Max to Julia so she will dislike him, but she does not understand why. In the middle of their conversation, Julia receives a call from Max, who lies that he had a dream and wants to see a priest to get a miracle based on the dream. Anna looks confused, and this makes Julia reveal that Max can walk, and that he is trying to set up the miracle saga. Anna is shocked that she knows, and she asks how. She explains that she knows one or two things, but does not say anything about it because she wants it to last. Anna wonders what she will do when Max stands up, but she is not able to answer. Pecker, Maria, Max, and Julia are on their way to the priest. Maria starts telling stories of miracles, just to make Julia believe whatever they are planning. Julia plays along and starts telling her own miracle story. They get to their location and start glancing through the market. Just then, a priest comes and guides all of them to where the miracle happens. The main priest calls only Max inside. When they enter, the priest asks a few questions, which Max tries to answer to make them believable. However, the priest can detect his lies. He does not want him to destroy the name of the church, as people come there for faith. Max wonders what sold him out, and the priest says his shoes. After his time, Max rides in his wheelchair to his friends. They are wondering why he is not walking, but he ignores them. Julia looks confused as well, and has mixed feelings. They drive back home with everyone quiet. Maria wants to suggest they try something else, but Pecker stops her from talking any further. They stop at a cafe to buy some snacks. Max sits alone somewhere, and just as Julia is heading back to the car, a trailer is coming. She crosses the road with excitement, and just when she is about to be hit by a trailer, Max pushes her wheelchair forward while standing with his legs in front of the trailer, which has stopped. Julia stares into his eyes, sad but not surprised. Maria and Pecker try to save the situation by saying it is a miracle, but deep down, Max knows Julia has already figured things out. He ends up going back alone. The situation makes both Max and Julia sad, and they keep thinking about the love they have for one another. Max becomes quieter in the office and does not talk as before, because he is still feeling the pain within him. He is with his brother at their mom's apartment, because their agent has found a buyer for the apartment. He assures his brother that he is not blaming him, because she found out herself. Lucien then shows him a photo album that they need to show their father. They take the album to their father, who is in a care home. It is a picture of their parents when they were young. There is also a letter inside the album that they are hesitant to read, before Max finally picks up the letter and says, "I'm sorry," which is the only words written in the letter. Standing in front of their mother's grave brings emotions to their father, as he explains that her leaving them was her fault. However, his refusal to go after her was his fault. The next scene shows Maria being invited into the office by Max, and immediately after she enters the office, she starts to babble, thinking Max does not remember it being her birthday. He gives her the gift he has prepared for her, which makes her emotional, and he hugs her. He steps out and tells her to send his regards to her mom, which also shocks her. Max heads to where Julia is rehearsing. He interrupts the rehearsal and starts saying all the good qualities he sees in her, while also listing all the defects in himself that he believes make him disabled. He also explains that he lied out of fear, and because it made things easier. He expresses his feelings to her, telling her he has fallen in love, and it hurts. He believes in them, asking her to also do the same. Julia listens to all his words, feeling happy, but cannot express herself so as not to look expectant. She then rolls her wheelchair away after his speech to continue with rehearsal. Max leaves the building. It is the marathon day, and Max runs along with several people. He gets halfway, feeling tired, and just when he is about to give up, he hears Julia ask if he wants to race her. He replies with a smile on his face and goes back to the race. He carries Julia on his legs while she sits in the wheelchair. They continue in that manner throughout the race until they reach the finish line. They kiss each other passionately,